Welcome to Culture on Tap. We are a podcast that is about bridging the cultural gap one conversation at a time. We have myself, Xavier Bright. We have Dale Young right next to me, and we have the man behind the camera, Range Armentar. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and share on anywhere you listen or watch podcasts. And make sure you hit the bell so that you can get notifications whenever we have new content coming out so that you can tap in with us. So today... What do we have?
Well, first, again, remind you, go ahead and subscribe if you hadn't. But we got to do fun facts with Range first.
Fun facts with Range.
Fun facts with Range. Today's fun fact is that Range, through all of high school, all of college. Mm-hmm. Well, this is a multiple level thing. So first, Range did not take history in high school.
No. No.
And he graduated.
Yes.
You have a bachelor's degree.
I have a diploma, associate's degree, and a bachelor's degree.
And you not only did you not take history in high school, but you went through high school and college and did not take a single minute of foreign language.
Not even one time.
How do you pull that off?
Like, that makes me mad because I struggled.
It was kind of like challenge accepted type deal, because whenever I was in high school, someone told me, hey, if you plan on going to college, you don't have a choice but to take a foreign language.
So how did you get into college?
I have no idea.
So help me understand, did they not say, so when you're signing up for I graduated before all of you. When I went to high school, there was certain classes that was non-negotiables. These are the classes you're taking.
Yeah.
And then you got to choose electives.
Right.
Which is the same way basically in college. Not that you could pick your core classes, but you have to still take them.
Right.
And you could I remember for me, you could not choose which time period you took your core classes. They just kind of gave you those. It was just your electives. Which mine were always athletics because I was on the teams. So
right.
that had to be my at least one of my electives. So did you do something to get out of the history classes?
And whenever I was in high school, you had to take 2 years of a foreign language.
Mm-mm.
We did too. I was able to do sign language. I got to opt out of it because my sister was deaf. And our school didn't offer sign language, and somehow we got them to agree. I took 1 year of Spanish, and the second year I said, well, my sister is deaf, and I should be able to count this as and they agreed. Mm-hmm. But you don't know that either.
No, I don't know sign language, Spanish, French,
none of it.
History.
So German.
But every single year of high school, you had to take a history.
Yes.
Like U.S., world
geography,
government.
Yeah. So the only I honestly don't remember how I pulled that off or how it happened. The only thing I can think of is I had my electives, which were my ag classes,
mm-hmm.
and then because of my dyslexia, I had they didn't have dyslexia class. They had what they called study skills. Basically, I did my homework at school, and that was a class.
Why did it sound so funny?
No.
But so study skills had to take the place of...
Should have been an elective.
Should have been, but my ag classes were not going anywhere. That was not an option.
Oh. So
that's where we landed.
What did you take? And you didn't take very much science either.
No.
What did you take? Because you didn't take history, you didn't take science, you didn't take foreign languages.
I took some Englishes, math,
and
ag.
Like English every year.
English, math, and ag. That's what he said. English, math, and ag.
So did you take English and math every year of high school?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Yes.
Because I did too.
My senior year was English. My daily schedule was literally what I just said.
English, math,
and ag.
The crap.
So you and you said you only took not even half a year of biology.
Yeah, it was like one semester.
That pissed me off. That made me mad.
Like I don't even.
I struggled.
I hated science.
I hated.
Now it did. So as far as the sciences go, it did come back to bite me
in college because you did have to take it in college.
I did have to take it in college.
And you did have to take history in college.
I don't think so. No, I did. I took one semester of history in college.
Like what? Do you even remember?
I don't know. I don't have a clue.
Like,
yeah.
I think this is the fun fact with range that pisses me off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I'm just trying to figure out what did you do to get that kind of.
He lived in Iowa, Louisiana.
Yeah, but he went to college in Texas.
I did.
So somehow he just convinced people because he's good on a horse.
Yeah. I mean, that was definitely how I got through junior college.
Because you were in
rodeo. Because I was on the rodeo team, on scholarship, things like that.
So we're clear. I played sports too, but I didn't have it like that, undoubtedly. Yeah. So fun fact for range. Range
got away with murder, basically.
Yeah.
Well, I struggled.
Oh, for sure.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Today,
yeah,
as we get into the topic, we got a sensitive topic.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, it's definitely something that me and you are both passionate about. I think it's more sensitive for you than me.
Yes,
but I think we're both equally passionate about it because we see what it's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The harm that it causes. Yeah, we're going to talk about pornography today. So I guess the initial thought whenever you hear pornography.
In my opinion, the most dangerous addiction in America today. That is my initial thought.
Yeah.
With pornography. Way undervalued of the dangers of it.
Yeah.
For sure. That would be me. What about you?
Sure. Two things come to mind. First is pain. Pain that it caused me, pain that it caused my wife. And though I haven't watched porn in years, the effects of it has changed the dynamic of my marriage forever. But also, so I think of pain, but I also think of freedom.
Yeah.
Whenever I was still in the midst of it, I couldn't say porn or pornography. Like I couldn't say it. I couldn't voice it. So whenever I'm counseling someone or helping them walk through it, that's the first thing that I listen for.
If they can say it.
Because if they can't say it, but they're saying they're doing well with it, it's like, are you?
Yeah.
And not saying that, that was my thing, but
I think that's probably true. I'm not. Yeah, no one should say 100% of the time, but I would say at least 90, 80.
Yeah.
Because if you have conquered something, to celebrate it, you have to be able to say it.
You'll have the freedom to talk about it.
Like I don't go, I'm in love with the lady that lives in my home that we've had a wedding. Like it's my wife.
Right.
I can say her name. I can say who she is to me.
Right. Absolutely. So that's something that I listen for. If you can name it. But like I have that freedom to be able to name it, but talk about it, talk about the struggle. So I think of pain and I think of freedom. That's what comes to mind. You have a history with it.
Yeah, mine. I mean, I think mine is not. Well, first of all, I don't want to delude anyone that has dealt with it because I think it is one of those things that has the easiest access to join our addictions.
Oh yeah.
Of anything. And that's why I say it's the most dangerous. Yeah, I mean, like most young men, I was lucky enough that I grew up before When I was in high school, the internet was just really a thing. Like I was the guy that had the dial-up.
That make you sound
I know, but
old.
I can distinctly but this is even how bad it was back then. I can remember, like going to school. This is honestly where it started with me. I was in middle school, and we had moved to Mobile, and when we got cable, like you got 3 months of HBO and Cinemax and all those things, and then of course they have Cinemax After Dark.
Yeah.
And in our home, I live like the attic had been redone into like a full bedroom. So like I was up there by myself, which was not good in any way, shape, or form. It's like I have my own house. So this again ages me. I would sit up at night and literally record VHS tapes of Cinemax After Dark, then take them to school and sell them. With the mindset like this is not affecting me. I'm just making money.
Right.
Clearly it was. And then, for me, high school, like, and to know that it was an issue, was, I remember we had dial up, and like, it's not funny, but like, I can remember like a buddy going like, hey, if you go to this site, you can see a picture of whatever.
Right.
And like you get on the dial up, and of course it's really loud, the whole beep, 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 like when you get on.
Yeah.
And then like as the picture's loading, it takes it like 45 minutes to like unpixelate where you can see it. And like having the nerve and to even take that chance just to see
a picture,
yeah. Not like a video, just a still picture. And and then it was a thing before me and Michelle got married. And for me, it wasn't something I really struggled with in our marriage because I think because Michelle had so much hurt from men in her life. Like I was blessed when I gave my life to Christ that I went to a men's conference, and he just talked about how this will crush your marriage, this will crush your life. So I just made it a point at that point to really not struggle with. The only time it started to want to come back was I was traveling a lot, speaking, being alone, stress of speaking, being away from home, missing my wife, and before it became a thing again, I just was very proactive. I would call ahead to the hotel, tell them to take TV out of my room, or ask them to take the controller from my room.
Right.
And luckily at that time, that was before we had tablets and
right.
Like we had cell phones, but we didn't have the access we have on cell phones now.
Right now, yeah.
And so I think that for me, and you'll get into yours in a second. I think for me, I always felt like I had a good handle on it. And then watching you walk through destroying it for your own life, and working with boys that struggle with it, and being good friends with Josh Proctor, who counsels people with sexual sin. Like I just knew I can't play with this.
Yeah.
And so I fought very diligently against it. And I think there was some numbers one time that I heard that like over 60% of the men and women now in the church are looking at porn daily.
Yeah.
Which is alarming.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of my history. Like mine's what people would say is your prototypical journey of a young man in America, which is another problem.
Yep.
But yeah, like where it was one of those like boys will be boys.
I can't stand that.
Yeah, but that would like people would probably classify my porn addiction, porn watching to boys will be boys,
right,
type thing. But I would even say in mine, and we'll get into this more. It definitely had an effect on my marriage and our sex life initially.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I stumbled across it whenever I was like 11 or 12.
So you were younger than even me.
Yeah. I was 11 or 12, and I knew that it was wrong, but I couldn't stop watching it.
Yeah.
Like it was like really traumatic, but I'm going through changes at that time, And so I started watching it multiple times a day, multiple videos, because we didn't have dial-up. We were
you
past
had
that.
you had
All access. So multiple times a day, for the longest, like for as long as I could remember. And it was always this thing that I would talk about amongst my friends. And it was so perverted. We were giving people videos. We're exchanging videos and just doing a whole bunch of crap, and then having sex as well, but projecting the images that was in my head onto Lauren now, and then I get saved, but that's still a huge struggle, and I don't tell anybody.
Right.
Like it was my idol that I was going to keep, but I'm going to keep it at bay. And I'm going to, I'm not going to do it every day, but I'm not going to tell anybody that I struggle with it. I remember vividly the person that was discipling me at the time had asked me. We met in the library at Sanjak Central. He was like, he was basically telling me what he was going to do as far as discipling me. And then he was like, you have struggles with pornography or anything? I was like, no. Like it was like, that was absurd.
Like, why would you even ask that question?
Like it was absurd, but like it was me being defensive.
Right.
He's not accusing me.
Right. He's just asking.
He's asking,
he's
hey,
loving on you and trying to mentor you well.
Right. Like, hey, do you struggle with it? No, I don't struggle with that. He was like, oh, okay. So I kept it. And for me, it was just like, as long as I get married, I'm going to be okay. Like I'll be able to stop, because I couldn't stop.
Right.
Because what I wanted to, okay, I'm not going to do it every day. I would go through these seasons where I'm really spiritually high and I'm good. And I don't do it for, I'd say 2 weeks, which is a lot for an addict.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a very long time.
Well, if you think about any addiction, most people can't go 2 weeks without their addiction.
Right. So I'd go like 2 weeks, but then I would binge and do multiple times a day for like 4 days straight. And then I would skip out on church. And then, I had friends or my pastor come into my door, say, hey, what's going on? And I'm avoiding people because of walking in shame.
Right.
I'm like, how can I say that I love Jesus and I'm doing this? Right. So it was like this wave, bro, like this roller coaster. But in my head, it was just like, all I got to do is get married and I'll be fine. Lauren and I are talking about getting married. I won't have to do that anymore because, Lauren and I will be, intimate with each other. So it is what it is. But I quickly realized that an addiction before marriage is still an addiction after marriage if you don't deal with it.
Yeah.
Like the logic, I don't know why it didn't click.
But I think that's all of us. And like a lot of people go, oh, our marriage is rocky. Well, let's have kids. What makes you think adding
that's going to
something that's annoying?
Yeah.
You love them, but they're annoying.
And they ain't going anywhere.
They ain't going anywhere is going to help your marriage.
Right. Like getting married wasn't the cure for my porn addiction.
Just so we're clear, getting married is probably never the cure.
It only magnifies things.
Absolutely.
It only magnifies your sin and your spouse's sin.
Which is biblical.
Yeah. Like it you gonna see it. It's gonna be in your face. So for anyone who is thinking, if you're single and you're struggling with a porn addiction, if you think it's going to get better when you get married, no, it doesn't.
Well, could we even say this? Like this isn't per se on porn. It just popped in my head. I'd even say if your reason for getting married or rushing marriage is because of any addiction or negative in your life, what does that say of love?
Right.
Like it's not like no one's putting that in a Hallmark card.
Right.
Like life sucks, so let me marry you.
Yeah.
Like, or I'm addicted, so let me marry you. Like,
right.
yet we've all, because ours was very much the same, a little different. You know, we were young and we wanted to get married because we were tired of waiting.
Yeah.
And not that we were waiting well.
Right.
And because we really weren't waiting, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, let's
There's
just
some sort of tug of war, but
like it's hurting my
failing,
heart, but we're failing, so let's get married. So yeah,
like
to continue. Yeah,
but it caused a lot more harm. But it was already causing harm on me. Now it's causing harm on my wife.
right.
So I brought somebody else into my dysfunction, and she didn't know about it
Right.
at first, but it was affecting our sex. It was affecting everything, because for me, I was like wrestling with, okay, I am partaking in the most intimate act that I possibly can with my best friend, and yet I'm running back to this.
Right. Well,
All the time.
wouldn't you even agree, whether it's man or woman, if pornography is involved, it is going to hurt the other in areas that you might not even know you were going to hurt them.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing more vulnerable than sex. It's the most vulnerable act a human being can have.
Right.
And then for you, whether you mean it this way or not, you are saying, I need this vulnerability from someone I don't even know.
Right.
After you've been as vulnerable as you can be, which opens up, like, you know, Lauren's not on here, so I don't want to talk about her struggles, but it clearly opened all the wounds that she has.
Right.
And that wasn't your intent.
Right.
But you still did.
Well, it was deeper than just going and partaking in the act. It was something that was broken deep down inside of me that I didn't know how to deal with, and I didn't even know. I knew it was there, but I couldn't name it. I couldn't identify it. But I thought that the cure was going to be like, and this was the perversion. I thought the cure was going to be sex.
Right.
Well, and then I realized that it wasn't.
Right.
And
Logically,
it's like,
that's what
okay,
you thought.
what's wrong with me?
Well,
why can't I stop?
Would you agree? Not, I would say more than 90%. When sexual pornography addiction starts, that's not the problem.
Right.
But now you get so far into it, it is the problem.
Yes.
Because now you can't stop. So then your solution is, I just need to have sex.
Right.
And not that, and I would guess for you, for a time, sex was helping, but it didn't fix it didn't fix the original problem that you haven't dealt with.
Didn't fix it.
And you're going to go back to the one thing where you felt security.
Absolutely. Even though it was a false sense of security.
Absolutely.
What do you think the biggest lie when it comes to pornography is? Like, what do you think it is?
I think for me, I think the biggest lie is the whole attaboy or boys will be boys or this is natural, that this is normal in any way, shape, or form, would be my initial statement.
Yeah.
And I mean, and you talked about the aspect of the lie of, you know, this is not a big deal. Like we can get through this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be mine.
Okay.
Is that this is normal. Like boys crave to see girls naked.
Yeah.
Like, which is true. That doesn't make it okay.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I would say the biggest lie that I see that comes from pornography is that sex is something that you do to a woman rather than with a woman.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Like porn turns her into an object, and in what God intended to be the most intimate act between one man and one woman on this earth, she just becomes a victim to our being predatory.
Right. No, I think it feeds that unbelievably unhealthy.
Yeah.
And just to know that these women that you're watching most of them are not there by choice.
Right.
Right. And for anyone that's, first of all, we didn't say this at the beginning. You do have kids that watch this. This might not be their best.
Yeah.
We don't. Let me just be clear, and I think you would agree with this. Kids are way more knowledgeable in this area than we give them credit.
Yeah.
If you feel like this is more for your kid, then your kid needs to watch. You might want to watch this later. But I also think your kid needs to hear this. So you make the choice. But I would say that what you see is not reality.
Yeah.
And if you've been married first of all, it is you want to talk about hurting the sexual health of your marriage, believe that the thing that you're addicted to could be your marriage is so far-fetched from the truth.
Right.
And I mean, I don't want to get into everybody handles sex differently in their marriage, and that's their choice, but what you see they are creating a fantasy that's not reality on purpose.
Yeah.
Like it's not meant to be reality because some people are just into that part of it. Right. It's not reality.
Right. Yeah. And as long as sex is something that we do to our women and not with, it just renders her an object of pleasure and denies her as being an image bearer of God.
Yeah. So
it's just an object, and that gives boys and grown males, grown males, room to be predatory.
Yeah, because they ain't men. Yeah, and so let me ask this question: is there any reason ever that pornography is okay? Because I do know people that would argue, well, me and my wife watch it together, and it helps us get ready for sex, which is very alarming.
Yeah,
like not trying to judge anyone, like that you need that.
Right.
Like first of all, I can promise you, if you're not internalizing it, more than likely your spouse is.
Yeah.
Like that just the two of you alone, there's not enough sexual attraction there that you need. Like that's scary.
Yeah.
Like I've very rarely found a couple that are 100% in agreement. Like this is what we need to do.
Right. Like it's, I would say there is no room where it's okay.
Yeah. Ever.
Not at all. Like it's not. It's first of all, doing stuff like that. There is something that's internally going on within one person to where, first off, watching somebody and getting off to that.
Yes.
It's something else that's going on. And
which kind of leads into our next point is
right.
Pornography is not the main issue.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I would say, at least for me and most people in whom I have this discussion with, it's a longing for intimacy.
Yes.
You're longing to be close. And the reality is that some of us reach for pornography when we long for intimacy. And it's like, you break down the word, into me, see into me. I want to be known.
Yeah.
I want to be loved. I want someone who knows all of me, who sees all of me, who stays with all of me in spite of all of me.
Right.
Like, and the only one that can do that perfectly is God.
Right.
Like, he's not going to leave. And we are longing for that to be seen, to be known, to be heard. Even in the midst of our ugliness, someone to be there in the midst of that. And the reality is that whenever I was in the midst of it and I realized that I was just longing to be close.
Yeah.
First off, I wasn't trusting Lauren to be that
right
for me. And she can't be that perfectly for me.
Right.
However, she had no idea what was going on. So it's hard for her to be there in a certain way if she doesn't even know that certain thing exists
right
at this point. But it's like having the capacity to, first off, see, man, I am longing to be close. I am longing for an intimate relationship, and the only one that can do that perfectly for me is God. Like, it is a freeing,
Right.
it's such a freeing feeling. However, just because you realize, okay, this is where I'm at, this is what I need, it doesn't just happen overnight.
No.
Because the reality is that what porn does is it short circuits our brain to get what we want and dip out.
Absolutely.
So in our relationships, whether it's like our spouse or just friendships or whatever the case, like, it's just get what you want, dip out, and it short circuits your brain. So whenever you realize, okay, this is what I need, this is what I'm longing for, it's not just oh, I got it.
Yeah.
We're good now. I'm never going to watch it again.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's work.
Right.
But I would say that the main issue isn't necessarily pornography. It's just manifesting in that way. The main issue is longing to be close to someone who sees all of you and won't leave.
I know me and Josh Proctor have talked a good bit about this. I think he said that in the 15, 20 years he's been doing this, being a sexual counselor and dealing with people with pornography, he can count less than 3 people that it was actually just he is an addict. Something is wrong in his brain that he just is an addict to see and be around and be in sex. And we're talking thousands of people.
Right.
And I think that's for most people. Like, it's an escape. And here, I mean, I think this is even fair. I think say it was fair for you. It's an escape from your pain or what you're missing.
Yeah.
And then you get married, but now you've brought someone else into your pain that never inflicted the pain on you in the first place, but now it's y'all's pain.
Yeah.
And even though you've conquered it, it's still y'all's pain.
Yes.
And it will
certain
probably
movies, certain shows, certain things that I don't listen to, that are hot takes or really good shows or whatever. I mean, heck, anytime you recommend a show to me, what do I ask you?
First question is there any nudity?
I mean, any show.
Yeah.
Like, that's my reality. There's certain shows that we've started watching just on Netflix or something, and then there's a scene and it's like, oh no, we ain't watching this.
And it don't even have to be nudity. It could just
trigger something in me or her.
Right.
You know, and it's just like,
because now your insecurity on it is also her. It's different though.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and she has her own things
right.
that
She has her
she's
own
been
things
through.
too. But like, even in her insecurity of how, because of your addiction, has hurt her.
Right.
So
exactly.
It's
it's changed the dynamic forever. And the reality is that we're okay with it.
No, I
wasn't.
I think the positive and the praise to say is, for people that don't know us, they don't know that this is true, but the people that do watch, that do know us or listen, I would argue, physically, spiritually, sexually, all of it, y'all are closer than you've ever been. Not that we talk about.
Yeah, right.
But you can just see it. Like, y'all are in a different place than y'all have ever been.
Yeah.
Y'all aren't denying what's happened. Y'all are celebrating restoration with Christ.
Absolutely.
And redemption and moving forward.
Absolutely.
So what is your advice towards the dangers of pornography and getting rid of it in your life?
I guess the first thing I would ask, I usually ask questions, do you want to fight?
That's good.
Do you actually want to fight? Because initially, whenever I was thinking about this, I wanted to say porn is like an abusive relationship, but porn is.
It is
an abusive relationship. Like,
it just takes.
Yeah. Like, you hate it. You hate what it's inflicting in you, but you can't imagine your life without it.
Yeah. And that doesn't even matter if you're a Christian or not.
Right. Like,
I would argue as a Christian, it probably takes and hurts more.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because when that immediate gratification is over, you feel horrible, but you know deep down you're not giving this up.
Right.
Like,
you're like, there were times, and this is like there were times where I would leave a Bible study knowing that I was going to go home
Yeah.
and watch porn.
Yeah. And like, and people go, just don't. Well, until that's like, yeah, like that's like telling the alcoholic.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wow.
Well, so let me ask this on the dangers and getting rid of it. Do you think you can do it alone?
No.
I don't think you can either. I think there are some things in your life that you can. I say that I think God speaks of community for a reason.
Yes.
Like I'm not saying that you have to invite 30 people into your problem, but there should always be people that are monitoring your walk at all aspects.
Right.
But this especially you cannot do.
I mean, I would say there wasn't anybody who was near for me in walking through this. Like it was so there's two camps, right? At least in my small area of influence. Maybe we can have Josh Proctor with his expertise to come on and
maybe we do a
kind of dive in,
2.
right? Because he's clearly more well versed in this. But it seems like in my area of influence, there were two camps. There was one camp that wanted to deal with the external and not the internal. So there was one camp that's, you need to put up covenant eyes, you need to put up these barriers, you need to get off of social media, you need to do all of these different things, which is cool.
Right.
And it's definitely needed. However, like that's not dealing with the heart issue.
No.
And eventually you're going to go right back.
Right.
If you're not,
they're good barriers to help you say no, but you'll find ways around the barrier.
absolutely. But then there's this other side where we want to talk about the heart issues and things of that nature, but we're not putting up the proper parameters.
Right.
So it's like there was something where I had to do both.
Right.
Like, okay, first of all, I identified my patterns, and I was basically doing an emotional audit before I even realized that I was doing an emotional audit.
Right.
But I saw the pain in my wife's eyes.
Right.
Whenever she found the porn, like on my phone. Like there was this, and we talk about this all the time, like for her it was like devastating, but for me it was so freeing.
Right, because now someone knows.
Somebody knows.
Right.
I'm not walking around, I'm literally walking in places or at church, or people who know. Do they know?
Yeah.
Do they know? Do they know I'm a fraud?
Right.
Do they know, like, does my wife know?
Right.
And I knew she didn't know because, I mean, she would say something.
Right.
But it was like, it was so freeing for me. And where it was devastating for her, like we were both wrecked, but where there was relief in me, wasn't relief in her.
No, because what just
I
became
betrayed
your secret out now that you can start walking through it, for her, she just got ran over by a Mack truck.
Absolutely. A betrayal.
Yeah.
What she
what's
thought
wrong
she knows,
with
she
me,
doesn't
know.
What's wrong with me? And this is at the time, she just had Deuce, and
Right.
she's always been fit and in great shape. And right now she's not. So clearly he's not attracted to me. Like all of these different things that were going on. And it was like, I saw that, I was wrecked by it. So then I started tracking, okay, the pattern when I watch it, it's between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. It's whenever I'm bored or I'm stressed. Like I started marking all of these things and putting up parameters around that. But however, I'm like, what is going on inside of me? And there were friends at the time who were close by who was somewhat helping me and somewhat giving me nuggets and things of that nature. But there wasn't somebody walking with me.
Right.
Like I felt like you go to the gym with somebody and y'all go to the gym together, but y'all are doing separate workouts.
Right.
Like you're not working out together. Like I'm not spotting you.
We're both working out.
We're
but
both
we're not,
working out, but we're not.
You have no idea if I'm pushing
You're on
myself.
leg day.
Right.
I'm doing biceps. We went to the gym together. We may work out just as long, but we're not working out together. It felt like that.
Right.
Like there were people who were helping me with certain stuff, like friends or family members.
But nobody's asking you
But nobody is walking with me through this. So it was really difficult, you know,
Yeah.
like, then we get into like small groups or community groups, and we'd break off, you know, women, like after the group discussion, women would go and talk about things, and we would go talk about, like, men would go talk about things, and I would bring it up in there, like the struggle, but it was like nobody was walking with me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it was this thing of dealing with both the internal and the external. So it's like, if you want to fight this, like, first off, do you want to fight?
Right.
And because of this abusive relationship, like, it's going to be hard to break free, and you're going to have some victories and you're going to have some shortcomings. But the reality is that you will have those if you're dealing with both the internal and putting up the proper parameters around you. And that was my experience. Like, that may not be everybody's experience with this, but that was my experience, and it's worked. I haven't watched porn in like 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
And Lauren and I talk about it. Like, I tell her, I cannot promise that I won't ever watch it again. Like, this is something that I've quote unquote conquered. However, it's still there if I'm not careful.
Yeah.
And I am ferocious towards lust. I am ferocious towards that. Like, I treat it, and this may not even be, like, again, this is my method and it's worked, but I treat it as though I've watched it yesterday.
No, and I think that's the case. Well, I think a huge thing for you is, instead of when your wife found out, instead of immediately justifying it, you saw the brokenness.
Yeah.
And I think for you, a lot of it, because you've said this a lot to me, is that picture hasn't left you.
No.
And I think that's the important part, is when we forget hurt, it's easy to go back to how we hurt people.
Yeah.
But I also think, like you said, you've got to be diligent, because that's
why I am the way that I am. Even whenever you suggest, "Oh, this show is really good." Oh, well, what is it? What does it look like?
Right.
And you're like, "Yeah, no, you can't watch it," or "Yeah, you can watch it," or whatever. Like, you know, that doesn't mean that I go and watch it, but it's just like, you're like, if you want to watch it, you got it. But it's just like, for me, my purity in this is far more important than entertainment for me.
Well, but I think it boils back to this. If we are believers, especially married believers, and we believe that our marriage should be the number one evangelistic tool for the world to see Jesus, then pornography is never going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because you're basically saying Jesus isn't enough.
Right.
And I think that, I think that you're living it out well. I think you're very open and honest about it. I mean, we've kind of answered the biblical approach.
Yeah.
I think a big mistake that people do make, though, is once you're open about it, I think there's a fear in the church of being open, being ostracized. Last week we talked about cancel culture. I could see that, for a lot of people. Could have been for you.
Yep.
Like, I think, in fact, I think that I hate to say this, I think there's churches out there that would not want you in their pulpit because you're open about I was addicted to pornography.
Yep. And it's a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
And we can't be weak.
But I think a big mistake we make is that we can't be open and honest about this. I think we make a mistake of alluding to it, but not really being open and honest about what this is. And another huge mistake, I think, is when people who do want to change fail, that we just decide that they really don't want to change.
Right.
And that's like, yes and amen that you did what you eradicated, but like you've said, I could fall tomorrow.
I'm one decision away.
Yeah. And I think that that's powerful, because I think a lot of people at this point, like you said, as long as you've been, they'd probably be like, I can never fall back into that, which is absurd.
Yeah. And Lauren and I talk about it, and I tell her, and she's like, she prays that day does not come. But she's like, I have to, and it's beautiful. She's like, I have to remember that It's not anything that I've done.
Yes, I think that's huge.
It's not me, because that's what it was for her initially. But the more we talk about it and the heart issue that's within me, it has nothing to do with her.
And I think that's the complex nature of it. Is it has absolutely nothing to do with her, but for her it has everything to do with her, because she's part of you,
right?
And you're finding this very vulnerable thing that God gave us somewhere else.
Yeah.
So even though I agree with you, your pain and your addiction has zero to do with her.
It affects her.
It sure don't feel that way.
Yeah, it affects her. It affects her, even though it's not about her. It affects her just as much as it affects me.
Absolutely,
it would affect my family just as much as it's just me. It'll affect everything.
But I also think a big thing for y'all is, which falls on a mistake, is you're not doing is not fear out of doing it again, your wife leaving you. Because I honestly don't think that that's the case. I think, I'm not saying she's going to be upset.
Yeah.
But she's going to continue to love you. Like, she's not going anywhere.
Right.
Your fear is out of dishonoring God.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely.
So if your fear, husbands or wives, is they might leave me, you're probably going to fail.
Yeah.
Because if it's not this, it could be something else.
Yeah. Absolutely. Whenever we put something else on that mantle, which is an idol,
right?
We're eventually going to polish it up, but it's eventually going to fall and crash, and it's going to hurt.
Right. And I think that's the thing. If you're not pursuing, if the goal is not to pursue sanctification and love Jesus well, either you're going to fall into this or you'll just find a new addiction or idol to put in his place.
Yeah.
Because I can promise you can't read your Bible enough and just pray enough to get out of this.
Yeah.
You've got to decide.
There were times where I would literally, like, I was like, I'm not saved.
Yeah.
Like, I would go that far and, like, just cry, because it was like, what is wrong with me? Am I actually saved? Like, I know that I don't want to be this way.
Right.
I don't want to indulge. I don't want to do this. But it was like so strong, like I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like, this is deeper. It's deeper than just porn.
Right. Right.
You know, like it's deeper than that. And one thing I do tell people who I try to help is what fascinates you will eventually assassinate you.
Oh, that's good.
Like what you tune into, eventually you'll turn into.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it's like, it was becoming very apparent, you know, and, you know, maybe I'll have Lauren come and share from her perspective, whatever, we'll figure it out. But it was very apparent whenever we would be intimate that we weren't being intimate.
Yeah.
And she was an object of my pleasure, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think that's good. I think we should probably look at doing a series where, especially in this area, wives are involved, maybe around healthy marriage or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before we close, I would like to add, if there's someone that's watching or listening, that this is their struggle, please, I get you don't want to put it in the comments for the world to see, but please, you can private message us through both of these. If you send it straight to the private message of Culture on Tap, we'll get that.
Yeah.
I will, I don't remember it off the top of my head. I should have had it for the show, but I will put, Josh Proctor actually has a YouTube channel of walking through pornography addiction. I will put that in the comments once this video is up. And we would love to help any way we can.
Any way we can. I'm an advocate, and I'm proof that, you know, I ain't got all the answers, but you don't have to walk and indulge in it more. You can walk freely, not without consequence. If you're already married or in a relationship, there are definitely consequences that has transpired from this. However, I've walked in freedom for 8 years or so. And I, by the grace of God, and should the Lord tarry, I'll continue to be free. But you have an advocate here. If you need help, please reach out. Don't hesitate.
But I think that's a true statement. You can have freedom in spite of the consequence of your choices.
Absolutely.
Two are not separate. They can be one and the same.
Yep.
I think that's very important because I think we have too many people teaching, well, if you're in consequence, then you're still not in freedom yet. No, your freedom can be celebrated during the consequences of the choices that you've made.
For sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah, this has been Culture on Tap. Thank you for tapping in with us. We love you guys. See you guys next time.
See you guys.
Culture on Tap is sponsored by Houston Radio Platinum, playing the best classic hits. You can download the Houston Radio Platinum app. It's in your app store, or just ask Alexa to play Houston Radio Platinum.